Welcome to Take the Helm podcast, where we will share stories, experiences, data, and best practices with industry leaders, friends, and dealers. From market conditions to insights, leadership development to tough conversations, take the helm.
Hey everybody, John Green with Lead Helm here today. I'm actually coming at you from sunny Fort Myers, Florida. One of the perks of the job is when you have an office in Florida, you get to come to Florida, visit the office in the middle of the winter. So it's actually been quite nice. But as usual, if you've watched any of these or you see any of these, I get excited for these, right? Whether they're webinars or podcasts, and I'm always excited. I'm excited today because we get to look at the digital opportunity, and we always do that with one main mission. How do we sell more vehicles? Right. And when we're talking about selling vehicles, I think everybody is excited. I am. I know that you should be. My two partners in crime today on the call, I know, are also excited. I've got Aaron Barney and Jason Blankenship, both from Team Lead Helm, with me. And this is actually today is a follow-up. So this is part two to a two-part program on the digital traffic log. So last fall, in episode 7 of our podcast. If you watched it, great. If you didn't, I'll tell you how to find it at the end of this, because you want to go back and see that one, because it's going to provide you some additional context with what we share today. But we introduced this traffic log late last year, and it really for multiple reasons, right? I think if you really look hard at the digital sales process, it's different than the physical floor traffic sales process. Okay, for the most part, we're in digital side, right? We're looking at number of inbound leads. We're talking about website traffic. We're talking about appointments set, kept, and delivered. Those are different than greets and sit-ons and sit-downs and write-ups and so forth. So it's a different process. It needs different steps. It needs different metrics, and it needs different documentation. So we've created this piece of it. And the reason, obviously, if you pay attention to anything that Lead Helm's been doing, or just kind of how business is evolving, nearly 100%, right? It's right at 95% of the traffic who eventually get to your dealership, they start their journey online, right? So the import of why we're focusing on this is significant. Your customers are there. You need to be equipped to meet them in that space, engage them in that space, and eventually move them to a kept showroom appointment or transact the sale online, right? There's always an option about that. But in general, we're talking about how do we get an appointment set for physical showroom visit. So that's what this is really designed to do. And we're going to look at it two ways. What we did with it in the fall is we used it purely as a planning tool for 2024. Okay, so we're going to kind of revisit what we did that way, just to freshen everybody up as a reminder. Or if you didn't see the last one, we'll get you up to speed on that. And then we're going to spend some time with an actual month of data, right? So we're through January. You should have your January traffic log updated, and we're going to be able to look and go through what was our actual performance relative to our targets, and what kind of insights can we glean from that data to drive our business forward? Right. So that's where we're going to go today. In the fall, when we went through this, right, the very top line of this thing, right? So if you're watching, I'm looking at line 8. And if you're not watching, this is basically just a month by month, 12 months and a total for total vehicle sales projected for 2024. Okay. Not just digital, but in the entirety. Okay. So we're going to plug those in by month. January's 51, February's 23, whatever your numbers are. We end up with an annual sales total, in this case, 467 vehicles. Yours could be 1,000, yours could be 250, whatever the number is, put it in there by month. There's your total. The next discussion to have is we move down to line 11 on here. And we have, when we work with dealers to build these, we want to look at historical data if they have it. If not, we've got some benchmark information we can share on this. But one of the first pieces of the discussion is what percentage of the total 467 you've got planned for the year, what percentage of that do you anticipate or would you like to see come through the digital sales process, right? What percentage? 10% of your business? 50% of your business? Where is it? And we use as a target And again, if you have history on this, good, you should have history. It's very valuable to understand that stuff. If not, we use a default of 30%, which is what we have in this example. So for this example, you see 467 units total we're going to sell for the year. 30% of those, we believe our digital department should bring 138 sales of that 467. That's a 30%. Okay, so now we've got a target. Now I know what I need to do in my physical showroom. I need to know in my digital. Okay, planning. It's a big piece of it. And then we're going to move over from that. Okay, we're going to say you get leads. Okay, what percentage of those leads do you believe you can actually set appointments with? Okay, so for every 100 leads you get, are you going to set 3 appointments, 30 appointments, 50 appointments, whatever the case is? These are all dealer fields that can be filled in. So we have dealers that are different things, right? Look, we've got dealers say, look, we're going to have 40% of our businesses that have come through digital. And we've looked back at it. We're going to use 35 for our set target. And they've got history that they can build on there. But we're going to go through and fill these out. Set appointments, kept appointments, okay? Conversion. So a kept appointment that arrives in the showroom, what percentage of those folks will we actually sell a vehicle at that point in time? Plugging all those pieces in. And then I think, guys, we're going to have a little discussion on this website traffic in a second, but what's happening on the digital sales target portion of this, so the kind of the middle body that you're seeing, lines 16 through 19, anytime we're changing with these targets, whichever it is, total sales target, set, kept, delivered, any of those things, when you make a change, the spreadsheet updates, right? The traffic log updates, and it's basically what it's telling us is now I know my total website traffic I need for the year and by month for my dealership. I know the total number of leads by month and by year that I need to hit these targets. And I know how many appointments I need to set, how many need to be kept, and ultimately how many are going to deliver to hit this 138 unit target that I have. Again, it's all very dynamic. If we changed any of those percentages, we would end up with different targets on there. Okay, I think that makes sense. So as you can see on here, if you're looking at it, 138 sales is the target, which means I need 461 kept appointments. To get that, I need 657 set appointments. I need 1,640 leads. And I need website visits of 82,000, right? And that's broken down by month. And so what this is really looking at, okay, goal setting. What needs do you have? Well, we've identified website traffic and lead count needs. You've probably got some concept of what staff is going to be necessary to handle and actively move these leads through the process. We have those pieces, and we're looking at the 3 phases, right? We're looking at lead capture, which is up front. That's website visits and leads, lead capture, phase 1. Phase 2 is lead follow-up or lead nurturing. Okay, that's all the set and the kept work on there. So now I have targets for that. And then phase 3 is lead conversion. How do we do a great job when that appointment shows up and actually get them to sign and ride, or sign and drive, or sign and float, or whatever you might be selling at that point. So we have all that. And I think part of the thinking on this is you need clear objectives like this, right? We need clear objectives. Now I have a plan. Then you put together the tactics and the people and the advertising spend to drive toward these things you've identified as your needs. And without a plan, it's really, really hard, right? Then without plan, you have hope. And hope is not a strategy, right? It's just something that you've got because you don't have a plan. Well, let's have a plan. Okay. So guys, let's talk about this a little bit. This interesting piece, for those of you that are looking at it, it's the far right-hand side of row 11. And we have a box that's called website traffic target. Okay. And all that is what percentage of your website traffic becomes a lead, right? Traffic is one thing. They show up, they look around. You can see that. You can see website visits. You can probably figure out where they go, what pages they go to, what links they click. You can find all that in your website analytics. All I really want to know is, out of 100 people that come to your website, how many of them raise their hand somehow, right? How many fill out a lead form? How many request a quote? How many fill out a credit app? How many sign up for your newsletter? How many use your chat function? There's all kinds of lead capture tools. But this is a key driver, right? Because you can see on here, I need 82,000 website visits to get 1,640 leads, okay? So guys, what have we seen, right? What have we seen in this specific area? I would say 23 we saw it, maybe 23 versus 22. What's the trend on this traffic area? Because you guys are seeing it with clients, prospective clients, existing clients, different industries, so forth. So any context, any light you want to shed on that?
Yeah, I'll jump on in there, John. I think what we're seeing is that it's going down, right? I mean, that the reality is that it's going down, and there's probably some different variables. We were seeing it as high as 3%, right? From more of a benchmark standpoint, we're seeing it converting lower to 1% now. And I think there's variables that could have to do with that. Some of it uncontrollable. Financing is a little tougher. People, maybe money's a little tighter, and people are wanting to visit, but maybe not take that next step, that action, like you said, John, raising your hand. And not going too deep into all those variables. I think the reality is it even sheds more light on why we need to be aware of how we're performing with the leads we do have, right? I mean, if you're spending the same amount and you're getting less leads, then that means the cost per lead has gone up. And so it puts more emphasis on the importance of, you said it, John, what, 95%, right? Of your customers are starting the journey online, and that they're starting it through your website. So it's more of a reason to value every lead, and understand, this data, so that we can, improve and influence some of the behaviors that handle those leads, even better. But yeah, if the cost is going up, we need to be all over it. And I think the other part, I think, Jason, you could shed some light on this with, you do a lot in client success here, but spending 20 years in retail, one of the most important things was being retail ready, right? So every day you'd be inside the dealership, and you'd set your showroom up, and you'd move your inventory around so that it, that one bike that maybe was over by Motor Clothes, you put it up front and you had it, maybe you've had that bike for six months, but you move it and all of a sudden it looks new on your showroom. So, from how you would make sure that your showroom's clean, make sure that your showroom inventory is moved around, that everything's out front, we'd spend a lot of time, right, getting all those units maybe out by the road, making sure the signs are up, maybe a demo area, and all these things we do inside the dealership. We need to, I think, put that much focus on our digital showroom right now. Meaning, what's the flow that the customer can go through when they get to your website? Is it easy to navigate to get to a sales lead form? Maybe it's your inventory, carousel ads and things that are maybe on your website help people click and look at your inventory. As dealerships, we offer such awesome product, and so it's best that we show it the best we can. Live pictures, video is great. So I can go on and on, but I think, yes, two things to your question, John. Cost of the leads going up puts more emphasis on making sure we're handling them properly. And then the second part is really taking the time, having some dedication there to making sure digital showroom is standing tall, that it's retail ready, so that you can focus on trying to get that 1.5 to 2% conversion there on your traffic.
So you're really talking about website optimization, and Aaron and I did a podcast on that exact topic last summer.
Yeah.
I think somewhere in there, and it's all kinds of things, right? Inventory presentation, wayfinding, do your links work, right? Are your lead capture tools easy to find? Do they function correctly? So I think that's a big piece of it. Jay, you got any thoughts on this you want to share here?
You guys covered a vast majority of it. From what I see with the clients that we work with, they're already putting the need to be cutting edge on the digital side by being a subscriber to our software. And they've already addressed some of these things, like you said, Aaron. They know where their website visitors are. They know that less are coming in and they're getting plans in place to do more with the ones they do get. And having the day of a customer just walking in your door and saying hi and selling them something, online's a different beast. They're doing their research. They're reaching out to multiple dealers and not even in the same industry even. Their disposable money is not always going to the same place. And so when they're doing that, the key part of that is treating that person just like they walked in your door, shook your hand, and showed interest in buying a product. You have to give them an exceptional experience. You have to be retail ready on the digital side, having live photos of your inventory, having video content, having compelling things to get customers to want to click on your website. And from my perspective, most of our clients are already in that phase. And the newer clients we have, they identified that they needed to get better. And so through our, coaching and consultative nature of what we do and what I do with the clients, it's helping them put that emphasis on their digital doorway and treat it like its own showroom. Get the most out of it.
No, that's good, guys, both of you. And I think one little caveat on there. I think what's amazing is competition is even more intense to win the online customer, okay, than it is the showroom customer. Because if somebody's in your physical showroom, they're not captive, right? But they're there, right? You've got them. They're not looking elsewhere. They're right there. And if you engage them and do a great thing, they're going to stay there and they're going to love it. But when they're online, right, they can be in there. They can have leads into 3 or 4 other places. They could actively be engaged with multiple retailers at one time. So more competitive in this space. And where you're going, Jay, how do we engage them, right? We talk about speed to lead, response time, but it's the engaging content that's there. You guys have both hit on it, right? We sell emotional-based product, right? This is need-based product, it's want-based products, right? Not need-based for the most part, right? These are luxury items. Most people don't need what we sell. So we don't want them to be logical about it. We want them to be emotional about it. And sometimes the best way to create emotion is one through genuine conversation with a person, and the other one is through video of the product and the lifestyle and the community and the dealership, right? Feeding the potential client with all of that video content, because there's motion and emotion in video, and we get them excited. We're going to win that appointment. Okay, so this is again
the biggest thing that is causing that you can't capture them, they're not captive, is right here. They can go on their phone and have 10 conversations with 10 different locations all at the same time and continually browsing for something else, going to different resources. So if you don't have a plan in place to approach your digital showroom properly, they're moving on instantly because they have it in their hand. They're not tied to a desktop. They're not tied to a desk. They can do it on the go at any time they want to.
Yeah, it's a good point. Good point.
One last comment for you, John, before you move on, real quick. Before we talk, before we move on we talk a lot about how leads are nurtured and everything from response and so forth, but specific to, the web traffic piece, I think it's important as dealers that we don't forget that we have invested and got return on a lot in the past, right? That shows on this report when we look at the leads that we've gotten in the past. We call those leads under management. And I think in today's market, being as competitive it is, sometimes we're chasing the new lead and we have a great opportunity to retarget the leads we have, right? So if somebody was to visit your website and maybe click and raise their hand a year ago and looked at, it could be anything, but they looked at a unit online and they're in our system, right? They're if you're using Lead Helm, they're in Lead Helm, and of course we offer great ways to retarget customers and communicate quickly with customers like that. But when you're able to retarget and serve them links, right, back to your website, check this out. Maybe it's a new inventory coming in. Maybe it's a new model release. These types of things. Look, they raised their hand a year ago. Maybe they bought, maybe they didn't. But this is the same customer that's probably in your demographic, in your zone, that would love to get back on your website and look around more. So that's another little tip. Don't forget that you probably have hundreds, if not thousands, of leads under management. Great way to retarget them and increase that conversion rate from web traffic to leads.
Yeah. No, that's great, Aaron. Yeah. There's a lot of things we can do with these leads, but we have to keep engaged. And that's what you're talking about. But again, that's different podcast. We talk, that's fun stuff. All of it's fun. All right. Okay. So for those of you that are seeing this, I've kind of got three main things that are on the screen right now. So I've got my digital sales targets, right? We just created by putting in, again, total unit volume, and then what percentage should be digital. How many appointments do we need for set, kept, delivered, all those things. So all that has flowed down into these digital sales targets by month. Okay. And then below that, I've got digital sales KPIs. So these would be the actuals. Okay. So this would be lines 24 through 29. Okay. So in January, we had 8,850 website visits. From that, we captured 120 leads. Okay. We'll go through some of the percentages in a minute. Of those leads, we set 45 appointments, 28 were kept, and we sold 13 units. Okay. That was our actual. If we come down to the bottom, we've got a month-to-date trend report. Okay. So now see, we're looking at a full month, right? It's not really a trend. That's what happened in the month. But if you input your data in this on a regular basis, and we are just about to finalize this digital traffic log living inside of Lead Helm, so you won't have to fill out anything other than the website traffic. All the data will just pull to it just based on the function of the platform, which is great. It's easier. But you can look at this over the course of the month, right? So we're now through 11 days of February. If you were using this like you should be and filling it out every day, you'd see right now at current performance, if I maintain this performance, I'm going to end February at these numbers, right? Is that on target, over target, under target? What is it, right? What's the variance on there? So we're going to look at a full month here. So our goals were 15 sales, 50 kept appointments, 71 set, 177 leads, and 8850 on website traffic. Okay. So we've got them color coded. We actually hit the 8850 in website traffic. Okay. So we were dead on that. But what happened? We didn't get the lead count, right? We needed 177 leads, and we got 120. But our traffic was right. So this is why we spent so much time on that website traffic to lead ratio that's there. Okay. If it were me at this point, I potentially would go in and I would adjust that website traffic target to what it really is. Okay, because if we go through the whole year thinking 2% of our traffic has become a lead, we're going to be short every single month. We're not going to have the lead volume necessary to achieve what we want from set, kept, and delivered appointments. Okay, so that's one big takeaway. And we had this, it was amazing. We were able to build this in December for 2024 for one of our dealers. And fortunately, we got into a big discussion about this. And we populated all the fields, all the cells in there. And the dealer said, or one of us asked the question, say, are these website traffic targets realistic? Do you know? And he's like, let me go look. All right. So he pulls up a report from an advertising agency that he works with, and he could tell us by month for 2023 what all of his website traffic was. And fortunate for him, it was accurate. It was what was necessary for this year. So then the conversation turned to, okay, what percentage of that's going to become a lead, right? So we can have this meaningful, we can have it, or you should be having it, meaningful discussion to make some of these informed decisions on, do I need to spend more to drive more traffic? That's one option. As Aaron said, cost per lead's going up, right? Do you want to spend more to drive more traffic? That's one. Do you need to optimize your website? Have you looked at the performance of all your different lead sources? Right? Some sources perform better than others. right? An audit of lead source performance, all kinds of things to think about at the dealer level, okay? Not just a sales manager or the user level at this one. So very, very insightful stuff. So guys, let's just talk about this for a minute, right? So if we look at the percentages, we talked about lead volume, right? So I'm going to have to do something. We're going to have an internal discussion with this dealership staff to say, okay, what are we going to do? Do we need to adjust targets? Do I need to drive more traffic? Do I need to do something with my lead sources, optimization of the website, or is it a combination of all those things? So that's one discussion that's going to be had based on the data, right? Again, we're about informed decisions, and we're about using data to create insights. I can't change this data. This is history. I cannot rewrite this history, but I can take what the data tells me and extrapolate from that what's happening behaviorally and procedurally in the dealership, and then I can change those things. If I change behavior, I should get a better result, or maintain behavior if I already have good results. That's all we're trying to do with this stuff. So we talked about the traffic and the lead volume, but we came out, guys, with a 38% set. Okay. Our goal is 40% on that one. So that one's in the red. These are color coded. So I'm in the red on set, I'm in the red on kept, and I'm in the green on sold. Okay. So we're doing a great job when the customer comes into the store, right? The retail excellence side of this is good. High conversion on people who come into the store, right? Almost 50% on that. That's great. But you guys, Jason, why don't you grab the first one? You do a great job on the set side for sure. So if you're talking to somebody or we're having this discussion and this is our January performance, what are we talking about to improve set percentages? How do I get a couple more appointments set out of my lead volume?
Well, the biggest thing is the cadence of follow-up, the aggressiveness of activities, and how are we reaching out to our potential customers, because you don't want the good of a high sold number cloud the areas of improvement. Because if we would hit those other numbers, that sold number could even be better if we got those extra few sets, those extra few keps. And so if you want to go back and, Monday night quarterback it and look at where did we have opportunities to improve upon, it would be that getting more activities out in a variety of fashions. Are we making enough outbound particles to increase the inbound ones? Are we then capitalizing on, once we get their attention and we get them to an appointment, are we confirming those appointments? Are we just letting the customer say, yeah, Aaron, I'll come by this weekend, and then hoping they show up? Because you want, like you said, you don't want to have hope is your only plan here. It'd either be good than lucky. So I would focus on those activities and review and make sure there's plans in places to make sure that this isn't something that we're going 28 days into the month before we take a look at. You want to make sure you're kind of following along where you are daily, for sure weekly, and then reviewing those hotter customers that you are connecting with and making sure that they're setting an activity that pulls them through the sales process.
And I would think what we see with most dealers we've start to work with, or even dealers that we talk with that we don't eventually end up working with, is the amount of time, attention, and touch points necessary to move people to set and kept is really underestimated. Right?
Big time.
We don't think we need.
They need
a lot of it.
Attention. Yep. I think we have a lag. Sorry, John.
No, that's right.
Yeah, they need more than one text. Hi, Aaron. They need value building. They need relationship building, and they need, like we already talked about, why come see me when I can talk to all these different people on my cell phone and find the person that's going to sell me on themselves.
Yeah, and we're not gonna break it down here, but Jason's a guy. If you want to talk about no contact, right? Because we find it. Look, it's just like in a showroom. Customer comes in and they're excited. Hey, I'm here to buy a bike. Do you have this color? I want to do this. I want to do that. Salespeople love that because it's easy to engage, right? The customer's coming in, they're commanding attention. Great. Online, same thing, right? A customer raises their hand with a lead and we respond right away, and then they want to communicate and we have dialogue. That's great, right? I want to do that. That's fun work. But the customers that raise their hand and then they go quiet, okay, this no contact situation, that's where most dealers are missing some opportunity. Okay. How often and how? Cadence and contact, cadence and content. What are you sending to the non-responsive people to get them to re-engage? Because I don't think they've lost interest. They just got busy for a minute. Okay. So sometimes we need to do things to rekindle that interest, right? And we've talked about what some of those things are. So Aaron, maybe pick it up after that, right? So we're working these sets. Talk about maybe some best practice around driving up kept percentage. Not that this one's bad, right? Their target was 70% kept. They finished at 62. But again, if we're converting almost 50% of the kept appointments, I mean, 2 more appointments for the month is 1 more delivery. Right, so the magnitude of having this happen is significant. So, what are some things that we know on kept appointments that drive it?
Well, kept appointments is always a result of how the appointment was set, right? We can set a bunch of appointments, but it goes back to, I think, a lot of things that Jason talked about. It is about what was the quality of that follow up? What's the purpose of that appointment? Is it compelling enough for a reason for them to really come in? And then don't forget, there's also going to be competition. You talked about it, John. So if they fill out a form and they set an appointment with you, there's chances that they fill out forms at other dealerships, and they are also possibly following up, to get that appointment, right? So if you've got a kept appointment, it's important to continue to nurture that customer until they actually come into the dealership. One is just confirming the appointment, right? I mean, this is some old school basis. There's no such thing as an appointment unless it's a confirmed appointment. But I think it's going back to some of the conversation history. What did we talk about? And what should we talk about further? Whenever we start assuming, right, that an appointment I've got set for, let's say it's Monday morning. This is a good example. And I've got an appointment coming in. They said, oh, I'll be there Saturday. If I just rely on that customer to be there Saturday, that right there could get me in trouble, because I'm going to have other dealers talking to that customer. Remember, things change at the household. Maybe the husband and wife are talking, and they may decide that they want to wait or do this and that. So keeping the customer excited, right? I mean, there's a reason they set the appointment. Keeping them excited, maybe giving them some more information. It goes back to cadence of follow up. But I think I did want to mention kind of another point is last night, Super Bowl, right? We had the Super Bowl last night, and one of the most important things that both those teams do after that Super Bowl, whether they win or lose, we think sometimes it's just when we lose, but win or lose, is go back and play back the tape and watch. Why did we do well, or why didn't we win? Why did we lose? Right? And by focus on the digital traffic log and putting some of this data in here, obviously by doing this, we're setting a plan, right? We've got a plan in place, and sometimes the plan works and sometimes it doesn't. So when you're able to kind of go in here and look at those set and caps and say, okay, what do we need to adjust? One of the things I love about Lead Helm is we can look at this at a dealership level as a team. And then we can look at it as a user. So when we look at this, we're looking at overall data. And I think, really be able to say, that would be a good time. If I was looking at this, I would say, okay, I want to get my set rate up. I want to get my kept rate up. I'm really happy with what happens when the customer walks into the dealership. I would start to look at who's setting those appointments. I may have one person that's setting it, at 45% and keeping 80% of their customers, right? I need to continue that, and I need to identify why that person's doing that, hitting those above my the metrics. And maybe I've got an individual that's newer, or maybe they've been there for a while, regardless, and they're not hitting those. Those create really great coaching opportunities. And look, hopefully you're not catching this. If like you said, John, filling this out daily, you're not catching this at, month end. If you're doing this every day and you're doing your daily, meeting around your digital, you should be able to be in front of those people and coach them regularly. So it's sometimes not just the team, it's the individuals that make up that team, and redirecting those accountabilities and improve in those areas when we're a little bit weaker. What I love about what I've always loved about it is the month's made up of 31 days in most cases. So we're behind, we got time to catch up, and if we're ahead, we get time to continue to plow through those results. So yeah, it's definitely something you got to look at every day.
And I think that what's amazing about that, Aaron, right? Look, we all three of us on this call right now, we came up through the motorcycle business, right? That's what we did, right? We're general managers and owners and sales managers and GSMs and all the different positions. We've done those things. And at least for our background and training, right, the traffic log, the physical floor traffic log was the most important document that you had, because it's what measures opportunity. And you looked at it and you scrutinized it every single day, trying to squeeze out another deal. We're pushing hard right now on dealers to apply that same rigor to a digital traffic log, because there's at least as much opportunity inside this. But again, this is necessary because they're different process, different steps, different KPI, different tool, different coaching, different analysis. We have to keep the data segmented, because clarity of focus on two different data sets moves them both forward. And when we blend them, we lose some of that impact. So I love that you said that. I wasn't even going that way, but it's back to our Lemco days. Those of us that, again, grew up in old school paper traffic logs. I mean, that's the lifeblood of the store. Well, if 95% of the people are starting online, this needs to be the additional lifeblood of the store. I believe that right now. So excellent stuff. I don't know. There's not much else to share on here. If you're doing this is great. Now you've got the ability to go back in. Do I need to reforecast? Do I need to adjust any of these things? Do I need to train? Do I need to coach, right? We train the team, we coach the individual, which is Aaron was doing. But use this thing every day. It is your opportunity scorecard inside of digital, and that is continuing to grow. Your digital opportunity in the digital business is not going to get less. It's just not, right? So let's get good at it. Let's get great at it now and be on the front end of this. Everybody's looking for a competitive advantage. This is one right here. So a couple things. If you want some help with this, if you want to know more about it, if you want us to walk you through that exercise, reach out to us, okay? Leadhelm.com. You can find everything on there. You can find Aaron, you can find Travis. There's a resources page on there. You can see our blogs. You can see some of the other podcasts that we've done. Just check it out, right? There's no commitment on that stuff. But I think the work that we're doing in digital with the dealers we have right now is the combination of technology and operational experience and the 1.5 million leads that were handled when we did full service work, handling leads for customers. We have a unique offering in the market right now that really nobody else has. So if you think there's opportunity that you're missing in digital, we'd like to partner with you to help you uncover that stuff. So guys, any parting comments or words of wisdom, and we'll let these fine folks get back to their lives.
Go ahead, Jay. I'll go after you.
Cool. I would just say that part of this whole exercise and putting the focus on this, especially since the numbers are coming down and how many visitors are clicking a button, is there's no bad lead. And if you're not engaging with those customers, trying to get their attention and talk to them, then you're never going to know what you could get out of it, and you're getting less opportunities. And so having a plan, like we talked about, like you mentioned at the beginning, is way better than just hoping. So it's a very key strategy that I only think is going to become more and more critical for every business.
No bad leads. Good.
That's good, Jay. I think we talked a lot about data today and what you can do with data, and data helps us move the needle, right? It paves the path. And there's one thing worse than, in my opinion, than not having any data, and it's having wrong data. So, I think no matter what you're using and what you're doing, make sure that you've got accurate data, because boy, if you've got the wrong data and you don't realize that, it's going to lead you down the wrong path. But I think what we talked about and the purpose of this is it is about selling more units. It's about driving more revenue into our dealership. It's about a lot of things, but top line, when we focus on this right here, this digital traffic log, it helps us refine a process, right? It helps us refine a process. And we always I love the phrase, trust the process. So when you trust the process and you constantly refine it, what are some outputs? You drive a lot of consistency. You're pushing hard on the best practices, and it's a win-win-win. You win as a dealership. Your staff wins, which is an interesting way to look at it, because it's important that our staff win. And then, our customer wins. Great place to really put yourself as a competitive advantage in the marketplace with this kind of focus. And I think when you do this regularly too, you spend a little less time trying to pull all the data all the time, and when you can save time, you can spend more time on the things that improve it. So a lot of good discussion. There's a lot more you can talk about there, but I hope as a dealership, if you listen, I'd love to talk to you. I'd be more than happy to have a one-on-one session with you even. So we'll provide my contact number and information if you're listening. If you're watching, if not, we'll make sure that we're able to provide that on a link for when you come back. So we definitely would love to talk to you more about that further if you have any discussions. And the 3 phases here, you said them, John. It's a moving target in all 3, but we can't just be right. We can't just be good at one. And you see that it sticks out really loud and clear when you look at the traffic log. You've got to be great at all 3. So good stuff.
Yeah. No, that's good, guys. I appreciate your time and your insights as usual. Everybody else, look, I say this a lot. If you've chimed in or tuned in today, or you tune in down the line and watch a recording of this, hats off for being a student of the business, right? I know, look, we've worked in the dealerships. There's a lot going on. It takes time and commitment to step out and see if you can continue to refine your own skill set. So kudos to you for taking the time to do that. And again, if we can be of any help, find us. Otherwise, happy selling, and we'll see you next time. Bye-bye.